Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Stephen Portnoy. I'm with Professional Services here at Servoy. With me, as always, is Sean Devlin. Party on, Sean.
Party on, Steve.
Never gets old. And today we are going to be doing a webinar describing Servoy's QAPaaS, which stands for Quality Assurance Platform as a Service. This is something we've been working on for quite a while, and I believe this is the first time that we're revealing it in a webinar. So I am going to hand it over to Sean, who understands much more about this than I do. And as always, if you have questions, please enter them as we go along in the questions panel, and we will do our best to answer them as they come up or at the end of the webinar. So take it away, Sean.
Thank you, Steve. Actually, we launched the QAPaaS late last year, right. And we did have a webinar to announce it. However, because a quality assurance platform as a service is a difficult thing to visualize, I think that as time went on, a lot of the community kind of forgot about it and maybe doesn't know what it is or if it's for them or how it might help. So I wanted to do another webinar that sort of really just shows it, and most of the webinars in this series are very demo focused. So I went to our DevOps people that work on the QAPaaS and said, give me something that I can show, that I can demo, so that people can understand and visualize what it does for them. So that's what I hope to achieve in this webinar today. We just do a few short demos, one to demonstrate continuous building, one to demonstrate how we make UI testing easier, and then also a bit about what sort of analytics are available. Then we'll do, of course, after a short demo, we'll do some overview of slides to kind of fill in the gaps and take time for questions. All right. The first thing that I want to show is I'm going to my lovely command prompt here to show you how I can run an automated UI test. So I'm going to run a command here. This is on my local machine. And you can see that it's starting up Chrome. You'll see some clicking around here, but I am not doing the clicking. This is being automatically driven by a script, and it's gone to the demo.servoy.com website. We're testing out the cryptography page. Now moving on to the example searching for all orders for coffee in Germany, updating a sales rep. Again, this is all scripted. I'm not doing any clicking. And we go in and test some other components here, like the calendar field, the password field. And then shortly after this, the browser will close because the script is ended. You can see that it terminates in the terminal there. So let's take a look at the source code of that. I forgot one thing. Before I show the UI testing, I want to start off something for continuous build because it takes some time to build so that it will be available at the end of the demo, hopefully. So park that thought for just a minute. I come into the Servoy IDE. I have loaded here the project for the sample gallery. I'm going to put one small label on the form. I'm going to type hello. Maybe I should make it white to show up. I'm being lazy here and not using CSS like I should. I meant to do foreground color. Well, whatever. I'm going to save that. I'm going to go over to my Git client. And in sample gallery, I'm going to stage this and then commit it and give it a comment. So now I'm committing and pushing this to a repository, and it's going to be kicking off an automatic build because of the change. Let's skip that. Okay, so that's committed. In a few minutes, in the Servoy QAPaaS, in the hosted environment, it's going to begin building my project because I made a change and I committed it. So pardon the distraction, but now we go back to the UI testing. So let's take a look under the hood at the UI testing script. You saw that it was driving the web browser, clicking on buttons and entering text in the field. So what we've done is we've created a sort of macro language to allow someone to very easily script out what they could do in a test flow. So you can see in the comments here that we go to the website, we test the cryptography, and that the language is very sort of natural language based. So it's a lot of when and then statements. Down at the very bottom, you can see that there's some of the substitutions that we put in there. What I'm going to do is change one of the substitutions from from Germany to USA. So we would be looking for orders in of coffee in the USA instead of Germany. And I'm going to save that. And I'm going to go back to my terminal here and run it. So again, it kicks off Chrome. It starts walking through the script. Of course, we go past the cryptography sample to get to the searching where we made the small change. So now you can see there it is, Coffee USA. We get a bit of a different result, and the test continues. Well, that continues to run. I'm going to show you some output from the test, because not only are we telling the browser what to do, but we can also verify that certain states have been reached. So I'm going to open up a report here in the IDE or in the browser, and you can see that it's the E2E result report, and it was built a few seconds ago. And I can expand one of the tests here, and I can see all the steps, and all of the steps have passed, including wanting to validate that the data that I put in the password field was what I had put in. So let's deliberately go in and break that validation. So instead of substituting that value back in, I'll just put in a dummy value and save this. And now I go back to the terminal and rerun the test. So the test that I'm doing here, everything is running local, although it is pointing to a remote site. And this is a way to quickly build and test your flows. However, most of our customers are doing this in an automated sense, so that they write the tests or write the flows, and once they've tested them and they like them, they commit them under revision control, just like source code. And then every time a project builds, that the test is run. Okay, now there's going to be a little bit of a pause because there's a timeout period when there's a validation and when the validation fails. So we'll see that once it fails, the process will be killed, and we'll go and we'll check the report. In the meantime, let's check on the commit that I did to see if the process is building. I'm going to go to my Jenkins dashboard, and you can see that it's running. It's running right now. So the commit that I had made earlier, where I dragged a little label on and changed the color, that's still building on the QAPaaS server. I think our flow is done, so I'm going to reload this report. And you can see that there was a failed test here. When I expand it and scroll down, I get the failure here on the verification of the password field with the value that I had put in. And you can see that when there's a failed test, it even has a screenshot of the browser during that state. So this is just kind of a small example. Obviously, there will be lots of tests, and so you get really a big list here in your report. And again, this could be automated. I'm just running everything locally here. I'm going to check on the build one more time. I think this will take a few minutes to build. The last time I ran it, it took about 10 minutes, I think. So in the meantime, what I'd like to do is go do some overview, and then we'll check on it at the end. Before I get into sort of the nuts and bolts of this, maybe I should back up and talk about why Servoy is offering the QAPaaS. We did a lot of research, and we found that a lot of our customers, small to mid-sized software vendors and IT departments and corporates, were really spending a large amount of their time on DevOps, on maintaining source code, on just coordinating development between developers, managing deployments, very little automated tests, very little quality assurance other than kind of responding to bugs. So despite a large amount of effort on sort of DevOps, we were seeing still problems persisting with quality, and also really slow release cycles. So instead of releasing new builds once a month or something, twice a year or something like that. So part of the reason Servoy exists is because we feel that software vendors and people who are building software have a lot of common problems, and this is one of those problems where we think we can help, and then everyone can benefit. So the Servoy Quality Assurance Platform as a service is really a complete managed service. It's not a set of tools where you kind of do it yourself and stitch it together. It really is something where it's hosted and it provides everything integrated. Not that our customer base isn't capable of doing this sort of thing. We've seen it. We've seen a lot of our customers build their own quality assurance pipelines. It's just that it takes a lot of effort, and it's a lot of duplicate effort across the community. So that's why I think it's important that we can sort of consolidate that and share in the benefit. So what's provided in the platform is, of course, a revision control system, source code management, also case management, because you can get to linking source code issues to particular cases and move those straight through back to the development cycle. Continuous build, as we're going to see in a minute when that build finishes, that as developers are making changes and committing them, that the application is being built and deployed onto a test server. It can be promoted to UAT development, at their discretion. Sorry, that means user acceptance testing. Of course, when the build happens, tests can be run, and that can include unit tests, which I didn't show here. Something that's been in the product for a really long time is the ability to write unit tests. So those can be easily automated, and also the UI tests that I showed you that I'm doing, manually and locally. The reality is those get run in the cloud on a trigger after every commit. The output of this allows you to monitor the quality of the application and to analyze how your application is changing. So for continuous build, it's really linked to revision control systems, source code management systems, and that can be done as a trigger. So every commit, it could be run. It could also be done on a frequency. So you could do it once an hour or something like that. The application is fully built and it's deployed to a server. And so developers can go and verify a change that they made, functions in the test environment, and that same build script could be modified to promote that build to a user acceptance environment. So if, for example, I'm fixing a bug and I commit the code and then I go and verify in the test environment that it's fixed, and then if all the tests pass also, then I might promote the build to an acceptance environment for quality testers to go and review. The tests are run automatically and continuously, and failed tests can generate notifications. They could send emails to developers or managers. They can also generate cases in a case management system so that developers immediately get new tasks to work on for fixing issues. So that cycle gets really shortened. And these are issues that might take a long time for someone to manually find, or maybe it's already in production, it gets reported as a bug, and then it really slows down when it can be fixed because it has to be coordinated with the production cycle. The output of all of this is that we get some monitoring and we get some analysis. Again, staff can be notified when there's a problem, but we can see code quality analysis, the result of tests. You saw some of the output from the UI tests. I'll show you a bit more of that in a minute. Also, you can monitor changes over time. So you could say that, you wrote a flow and you can see that after a certain commit, the flow is now running slower, and you could go and analyze why that is. So it gives you the ability to do some analysis. The UI testing suite is something that we spent a lot of energy on, in part because we found that it was as time consuming to write a flow as it was to build it. So you say you build an interface that a user can change their password, and then you go and you write a flow for Selenium or something to go and test that functionality. Well, you're spending double the effort to test it or to write a flow for it. So we came up with a macro language based on some tools we were using, so that even non-programmers could write flows, and that flows could be written and modified very quickly. I only learned the syntax yesterday, I think, and I was able to write a flow. So if I can do it, you can do it. Again, someone a non-developer could write these flows and just run through them locally, and they don't have to have a developer environment. They don't have to know how to program. So it could be really a software tester that's doing it. And the flows can be tracked under revision control, so that even as you make changes to your own test scripts, those get run on a trigger, just like changes to the actual application. Then we get into the cloud, and where this is really kind of going to scale is that this becomes automated. It can run in the QAPaaS on a grid, so then we can scale that out to test multiple browser and operating system combinations, multiple versions of Servoy, and also multiple versions of your code, so maybe building off different branches, so that the actual build scripts can be extended. And remember, this is done as a service. This is not some expertise that you need to bring in-house, but it can be extended so that you could even test unreleased versions of Servoy, so that it's safe to upgrade to version 8.3.3, for example. You can also test a branch before you release it, so that as you're working on a feature, you're running tests on that before you maybe even merge it back into the rest of your application. So what's next? I was able to show you part of this, which is visual, but one area we're working on is a unified UI. So kind of a manager's console where you can log in and get a complete picture of everything, because right now that is still lacking, and that's something that we have a work in progress right now. I've seen some prototypes of it, and it's coming along nicely. Another thing that we're pretty far into is an actual recorder. So you could record clicks to generate the flows, the script that you saw me modify. That could be generated from someone just walking through a scenario on the application. So that would definitely make it easier to write these flows. Also, we don't currently have Mac OS support when we run tests. So we're looking to see if we can expand to be able to verify that an application runs on Mac OS in the test environment. Let's take a pause here and check on our build. Yeah, it looks like it's cleaning up, so we're just about done. Yeah, wow, that was good timing. Now it's done.